My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC 288 fight card, giving you my picks, my predictions, and my bets. But before we talk about UFC 288, let's talk about the success that was UFC Vegas 72. I'm up units. Jacob is up units. His lock of the week won. That is 3 lock of the weeks in a row. If you don't know, Jacob picks an underdog every single card. That's the 3rd lock of the week in a row. This week was Cody Durden. Our prize picks play won. Our underdog fantasy plays won. And the safety parlay won. Again, the safety parlay is a premium member only thing. It is hitting at a 70% clip. In 2023 alone, the safety parlay is up 6.7 units. Last night's safety parlay was Caio Borralho money line, and then the Cody Durden Charles Johnson fight to go over 2.5 rounds. That was minus 103. Very solid odds there. Anyway, safety parlay absolutely crushing it again at a 70% clip. Overall, UFC Vegas 72 was a solid success, but in general, pay-per-views are a massive success for us. Obviously, UFC 287 was a bloodbath, an absolute bloodbath, but outside of that, we were profitable on 3 of the 5 pay-per-view events this year with some very large profits in the mix. We're up 29.91 units on the year in pay-per-view events alone. That's a 23% net profit, and that includes the bloodbath that was UFC 287. So as a whole, safety parlay is hitting at a 70% clip. As a whole, pay-per-view events have been very profitable for us in the past, which is why you should become a premium member to unlock everything for this pay-per-view, for UFC 288. It's only $10 a month, and you can do that at WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member at the top. And if you're looking for a couple extra bucks to line those pockets going into the summer, well, I'll send you $50, 50. All you need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Once you get there, you'll see that we have 4 different sportsbook betting partners. Click on any one of them, create an account, make a deposit, and I will send you $50 as a thank you. It's affiliate marketing, right? They're going to pay me. They're going to say, thank you for bringing me this customer. And then I'm going to take some of that money and then give it back to you because we are in this together. Everything we do is to grow as a community, to grow the community. You take care of us. We take care of you. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. I will send you $50. I pay out a couple thousand a week. So go ahead and hop on that train. This isn't just about copy-paste bets. Everybody loves to talk about the bets and the profitable and the safety parlay and all. Everybody wants to talk about the bets. There's also tools here as well for premium members. One of those tools is the line movement tracker. You're going to get every single fighter, the odds they opened at, the odds they are today, the day you're looking at it, the probability, and the line movement. So you can see that shifting. I have Parker Porter here highlighted. My personal friend, Parker Porter, opened at a plus 148 underdog and is now sitting at a minus 180 favorite. And if you just woke up today and saw that he was the favorite, you may not have known where he came from. So check out the line movement tracker. Unlock that to help find your own spots. We also have a full suite of data, metrics, and analytics. This is a 38 column spreadsheet, 38 columns of detailed data and metrics, again, to help you find your spots. Check out our bets. If you like them, great. If you don't, go find your own. It's literally that simple. WeWantPicks.com at the top. Click Become a Member for $10. You unlock literally everything I've covered. There are people selling just this spreadsheet for $10. There's people selling just DraftKings ownership for $10. There's people selling just the DraftKings Optimizer for $10. Just their bets for $10. We're doing all of it for $10 at WeWantPicks.com/bets. Nope, not test bets, /join. We're doing all of it at WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member at the top. We now accept credit cards. Let's go ahead and break down this card. We have 14 fights. 14 fights at UFC 288. And this is a pretty good card. We lost an awesome co-main event just to get what I think is probably an even better one. And we're going to open up this card with Daniel Santos versus Johnny Munoz Jr. Daniel Santos, he's an old school shooter box style fighter. He plots forward. He's got real tight hands. And when he hits the pocket, he just explodes, right? He's just winging punches, throwing with power, throwing knees. He's got solid leg kicks. And honestly, he looks like a little Charles Oliveira when he's fighting. He even gets hit, like drops like Charles does in all his fights, and then recovers like nothing ever happened. He's got real good BJJ from bottom, but he can be taken down. And even though his BJJ is solid, it's also old school, meaning It's like tournament BJJ, not MMA BJJ, where he's looking for triangles, he's looking to set things up, instead of looking to scramble and get back to his feet. He's taking on Johnny Munoz Jr. Johnny is also a black belt in BJJ. He's got decent striking, solid takedowns. He throws everything with 100% effort, and at times, really just bombing away. And he looks like most grapplers, right? Trying to close that gap, throw those big punches so that he can get the takedown. Once he gets there, he's working for control, looking to make things happen. On his feet, he's using both front kicks and side kicks well to manage range and keep his opponents at distance. His BJJ is slick, both on top and off his back. He's averaging a little more than 2 takedowns per fight, but he has a very low 25% takedown accuracy. His grappling fight IQ is impressive in that he'll bail on scrambles or positions if it feels like he's going to put himself in harm's way. For example, if you go look at his last win against Ludovic Shalinian, he was in a scramble. He was about to be put on his own back, so he bailed on that scramble entirely and just went to his feet, where fighters with lesser fight IQ would have stuck with it, and then ended up getting swept, ended up on their back, and that's not what Johnny Munoz did. This fight's a tough call. We're opening up the card with a fun, tough fight because we know Daniel is going to have the clear striking advantage. Johnny could have the wrestling advantage. He probably should, honestly. And the raw BJJ should be about even. So the question's really going to come down to, do we think Johnny can avoid the striking and then turn this into a wrestling match? I personally don't think he's going to be able to do that. John Castaneda, Daniel's last opponent, tried to do that same thing. And while he did have some success wrestling, he had a few takedowns in there, he was still put in the tricky situations and ultimately got knocked out. So Santos is going to be the pick here. The bet is most likely going to be Johnny Munoz to get more takedowns. BetOnline drops those prop bets on Fridays, right after weigh-ins, essentially. And I don't know what the line's going to be, obviously, but it's just who's going to get more takedowns in this fight, and you can bet on that. We've had a ton of success betting on that, and the same logic with significant strikes. Make sure, if you're a premium member, you link your Discord, because those lines fly. They fly. They'll drop the lines, and within an hour, 20 minutes to an hour, they have taken off. So make sure, if you're a premium member, you've linked your Discord so that you get alerts to your phone letting you know when we place bets, when we make picks, things like that. It's free. The Discord is free. You should join that anyway. But if you're already a premium member, in your account page, you can just link the Discord, which will unlock a few channels, one of which is the alerts channel. Then we got Jacob's biggest fan, Joseph Holmes, and he's taking on Claudio Ribeiro. If you don't know why I said he's Jacob's biggest fan, last time we broke him down, Jacob was a little harsh on him, saying, hey, he's not very good. And we tweet all of our breakdowns to the fighters. We're not talking about people behind their backs. And Joseph Holmes went off, talking about, I'm going to beat your little ass. I'm going to kill you. So Jacob took the tweet, printed it, put it on a hat. Can't shake that red little dork. Anyway, Joseph Holmes taking on Claudio Ribeiro. Joseph Holmes is massive for this weight class. He is 6'4". He has an 80-inch reach, but like a lot of people, he doesn't really use that reach well. He can be low volume at times, but when he does engage, he likes to stick and move until he can wrap you up and then work a takedown. On the ground, he is a solid brown belt, and he controls pretty well. He's coming off that loss to Jun Young Park, where he did look pretty good on his feet, but he had nothing to offer on the ground or any takedown defense. He's taking on Claudio Ribeiro, who is an insanely powerful striker who can put you out with both hands while just marching forward and bombing away. He has almost no regard for what comes back, and he doesn't worry about takedowns. He is the epitome of implementing his own game plan and not worrying about what anybody else is doing. He has a professional boxing experience, and that does show. The easy path is to take him down, but he has excellent hips, and he works his way back to his feet very quickly. He's coming off a loss to Abdul Razak Al Hassan, where he looked fast, powerful, and he had great low kicks. His takedown defense held up and looked very good before he was hit real hard and put out. Joseph Holmes should have a few different paths to victory. He can dance around on the outside, use that reach, keep Claudio away, or he can work inside and then try to out-grapple him and take him down. The problem is that Claudio's takedown defense looked really good in his last fight, and Joseph doesn't use his reach well. So all of a sudden, if we're expecting him to use that reach, well, we haven't seen him do it before. Claudio's going to be the pick, but I'm not that confident. I'm not confident enough to bet on him because, hey, listen, Joseph could drag Claudio to the ground, could somehow use that incredible reach to his advantage. But Claudio's going to be the pick. If Claudio had some wrestling in his back pocket, I'd remortgage my house. But unfortunately, he doesn't. Claudio's the pick, but I'm going to be staying away from bets at least until the props drop, and then we'll see if we can find a spot. Then we have Zhalgas Zhumagulov taking on Rafael Estevam. Zhalgas Zhumagulov is a grinding style guy. He likes to come forward and literally just grind on you. He's got solid power, very good wrestling. His goal is always to throw those looping punches, get you to react so that he can work a takedown. And if you look at the stats here, they're a little deceiving because while he does average more than one takedown per fight, he only has a 19% accuracy, but we've mentioned this a lot of times, right? That's really just indicative of a chain wrestler. Somebody who's going to come in, grind, miss the first takedown, shoot a second one, miss the third one, shoot a fourth one, and just continue to come forward, continue to work takedowns and not let up. He has great pressure. He's always moving forward, but for whatever reason, the judges absolutely hate Zhalgas. He is 1-5 in the UFC. 4 of those losses were incredibly close decisions that realistically should have gone the other way. He's coming off that controversial decision to Charles Johnson where he had power, he had aggression, he had better striking stats, a takedown, and he closed out the 3rd round. So the fight ended. And you know how the UFC shows the live odds? His last fight ended. The live odds were minus 1,200 for Zhalgas. Minus 1,200, and he still lost a close decision. The judges just hate this guy's style. Honestly, I have a theory. I think it's because he's constantly diving at legs. He looks desperate, even though that's just his style, and the judges seem to hate that. So Zhalgas got screwed yet again. And like Zhalgas, Rafael Estevam is a high-pressure grappler who's going to throw bombs to close the distance. He has absolutely no issues marching forward. He's got heavy strikes, and then he's looking for takedowns. His takedowns are sloppy, and they tend to be trips and drags instead of just true shoot up the middle type takedowns, but he is relentless with them and he will continue to work you to the ground regardless of what's going on. Once you're down, he does an amazing job of softening you up and then working for submissions. He's got great back control and he is a very dangerous grappler. Rafael's sitting right now as a minus 160 favorite, and that's probably fair, right? Because Zhalgas only has 1 win in his last 5 fights. He's not exactly a killer, but he's also insanely tough and not the type of guy you just blow through. Rafael's trip-style takedowns might not work here, and he might have a much tougher night than anticipated. I'm still going to pick Rafael here because the judges just hate Zhalgas. And if you remember, after he lost that Charles Johnson fight, he basically said, I'm done with this sport. I can't stand it anymore. The judges are the worst. I retire. I'm out of here. But then now he's back, right? So this is definitely a tough UFC debut for Rafael Estevam. I'm going to keep him as my pick. He will be my pick. But, man, Zhalgas is stupid live here because he has the pressure. We know he has the wrestling. We know he's not a guy that you're just going to hit twice and then get out of there. And if your game plan is to take him down, well, his takedown defense is just okay at 66%, but he is a very good wrestler. So Rafael Estevam's going to be the pick. But Zhalgas Zhumagulov, super live. And make sure you are a premium member. It's only $10 a month. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. We already have a whole bunch of bets on this card. You can unlock those and all of the tools for only $10 a month. Again, a month, not an event. You're going to get all the events in that month period. Then we have another UFC debut with a stupid tough fight. We have Ikram Aliskerov taking on Phil Hawes in his UFC debut. And Ikram Aliskerov is a Russian wrestler. He fights exactly like how his facial hair would indicate that he fights. He's a nonstop wrestler. He's got pressure for days, constantly looking for body locks, tie-ups, and shots. When he gets you to the ground, he is like a second layer of skin, meaning it's impossible to shake him. He leaves absolutely no room for scrambles or escapes. His striking is just okay with a high guard, long kicks, and the occasional flying knee. And he's taking on Phil Hawes, who is a phenomenal wrestler in his own right, with a ton of power and explosiveness, both in his hands and how he takes shots. His striking continues to improve, and he looks more comfortable each time out. Phil is a high-level athlete who can win fights striking or grappling, but he does need to protect his chin because he is chinny. We've seen what happens when people can land clean on him. He's coming off that loss to Roman Dolidze, where he had a really nice duck under takedown, and then he had his knee blown out by a knee bar, And you're going to see he was knocked out, but he literally was just hopping around on one leg. But it was a genuine, that knee bar was insanely impressive. This is a really interesting fight. You guys know I wrestled my whole life. I coach wrestling forever. Like, I'm a wrestling nerd, especially an American wrestling nerd when it comes to that. And that's what makes this fight interesting, because we want to talk about Phil Hawes' chin and, he gets hit. Don't forget, this guy was a national champion wrestler. And I always talk about there's levels to wrestling and the difference in wrestling between some bum from Arkansas and then an athlete from Russia. But this matchup is hard because while Ikram is seemingly a wrestling beast in the cage, I don't know what, if any, accolades he has, right? I don't know what competitions he's won, what he's done on the world or even national stage in just a straight up wrestling department. Meanwhile, Phil Hawes has a Division I wrestling background where he was Division I wrestling champion. He has also achieved everything you can imagine with international medals and competitions and tournaments. And I'm talking a lot about wrestling here because I think that's what's going to matter. I think that's the difference in this fight. If Ikram is able to take Phil Hawes down, Phil Hawes is going to be useless. He's going to be useless off of his back. I don't expect him to have any clue what to do off of his back. But can Ikram take Phil Hawes down? The dude has a 100% takedown defense, a national champion wrestler, and we're going to find out. We're going to find out a lot about Phil Hawes' wrestling abilities in this fight because, frankly, he's going to be the far better striker. His chin sucks. We get it. But he's going to be the far better striker. He's going to be faster. He's going to hit harder. He's going to have cleaner technique. The wrestling is the big question mark. So I'm still going to pick Phil Hawes here because if Phil Hawes can defend the takedowns, he's going to be the very clear winner here. Like, it's not even going to be close. I'm going Phil Hawes. Honestly, it's probably a bad pick because the chin is suspect. Ikram wrestles nonstop. I've talked about many, many times before. It is easier to finish a takedown than to defend one. You want to be the one who shoots first because Ikram shooting a bad shot is going to have more success finishing that than Phil Hawes is going to be defending it. So I'm going to need Phil Hawes to come out there, shoot early. He ends up on top. If Ikram's going to shoot, hopefully Phil Hawes makes him pay, defends it early, and then touches him up. But anyway, with all that being said, I'm going to ride or die with American wrestling here. Phil Hawes is going to be the pick. Throw $20 on him at plus 175, and I did that for America. It's for America. A unit for me is $100. 0.2 units, $20 for America at plus 175. Dude's a Division I national wrestling champion. He's got power in his hands. He's a legitimate athlete. My one and only concern is I imagine he is completely useless if he gets taken down. So we're going to find out. I put $20 on that. There is a note in premium. Don't just blindly tail this bet if you disagree. Because, frankly, it's tricky. Ikram can wrestle. But anyway, you get the idea. I'm hoping and praying Phil Hawes' wrestling is going to make America proud. And I threw $20 on that. Then we have my buddy, my good friend, my personal friend in real life, Parker Porter. And I need to point that out because I am biased. I'm always biased. Breaking down my friend. He's my friend. I'm not going to sit here and disparage him. But what's interesting about this fight is he's a full-blown favorite. Parker Porter opened as an underdog, and he is a minus 180 favorite here. So I may not need my biases here. And Parker Porter in general is a well-rounded guy. He's got solid striking, solid cardio, solid wrestling, solid BJJ. He lands almost 7 significant strikes per minute. If you remember, he set a UFC record with most significant strikes landed and then broke his own record with most significant strikes landed for heavyweight. He's got solid footwork for his size. He's 3-3 in the UFC, but his losses are decent. There's a Chris Daukaus in his UFC debut on short notice. Jalton Almeida, who legit might be champion this time next year. And then just recently, Justin Tafa, who hits like a freight train. He's taking on Braxton Smith. Braxton Smith, UFC newcomer. He's just a short, jacked guy who literally walks forward, throwing haymakers at people's heads. And it actually works for him too, right? He's so powerful and his hands are so fast that he can connect. And when he does connect, he can knock out a horse. He doesn't have a ton of offensive wrestling or anything like that, but his defense is actually pretty solid because he's short, he widens his hips, and he's just so powerful he can keep it on his feet. The dude is dangerous as hell, but he's got almost no cardio. And listen, Parker is absolutely going to be the better overall fighter here. He's going to be better in every single aspect of MMA except raw power. He's going to have the better technique. He's going to have the better footwork, the better wrestling, the better jiu-jitsu. He's going to have better cardio. Literally everything you need in an MMA fight, Parker's going to be better at it, except just that one punch put you out power. So Parker should definitely win this fight. Personally, I want Parker, if I'm his coach, I want Parker to come in here and work in leg kicks. He's got great leg kicks. Chris Daukaus, even in that loss, Parker Porter lit up Chris Daukaus' leg. You can see it bright red when they're announcing the winner. He even said to Parker while they're announcing the winner, holy crap, you kick hard. So if Parker comes in here and just lights up Braxton legs, that's going to take away his forward pressure. That's going to take away a lot of that power in those hands. So I want Parker to come out here, just absolutely relentlessly chop down that tree. Basically what we just saw in the heavyweights last night at UFC Vegas 72. Once he chops down that tree on Braxton, then he could just literally do whatever he wants. But first, slow him down, take that power away, light those legs up. So Parker's going to be the pick here for me. Obviously, he's my good friend, but this isn't just Angelo favoring his friends. He's almost a 2-1 for the Vegas odds. Then we got Marina Rodriguez taking on Virna Jandiroba. Marina Rodriguez is a very good boxer. She's got solid speed and power. She has raw one-punch power and just okay takedown defense, though. She did defend 7 of 8 takedowns from Mackenzie Dern, but prior to that, she does have losses to Carla Esparza and Randa Marcos, where she was taken down and controlled for 3 rounds. Overall, Marina Rodriguez is a complete fighter who can grind out a win just with distance control and speed, or get a finish. She's coming off that finish loss to Amanda Lemos, though. Virna Jandiroba is a grinder, right? She's solid on the ground. Her striking is just okay, but she hits hard and throws with solid volume. She doesn't have much head movement, and the stats tell that story as well with her negative striking differential. There are no secrets to her game plan, right? She's going to throw big, heavy punches, look for the takedown. She's 4-3 in the UFC, but her losses are actually solid. They're decent outings against Carla Esparza, Mackenzie Dern, and Amanda Ribas. She's coming off the grapple-heavy win over Angela Hill, where a lot of people had counted her out. And this is a tricky fight, and it feels like a straight-up trap because Marina's a solid fighter who's going to have a clear advantage on her feet, but Virna is a dog and not someone you're just going to get out of there quickly. She's always pressuring forward and looking for those takedowns. This entire fight will literally come down to Marina's takedown defense. If she can keep it standing, she wins. And she's going to have the cleaner striking. But if she, like Angela Hill, can't defend those takedowns, she's going to be laid on and just give up a decision. I think Virna is going to have some success, but I also think the judges are going to not favor her. They're not going to like the fact that Virna's just going to be diving at legs, and anytime they're standing, her head's just flying back because Marina's pumping that jab and lighting her up. So Marina's going to be the pick, but for just absolute shit's sake, do not bet on this fight. This feels like a trap. We did an amazing job at UFC Vegas 72 avoiding the traps. There were a lot of live dogs on that card, and we did a really good job avoiding most of those traps. The only 2 bets I lost on that card were actually to the short notice guys, but outside of that, we avoided the big traps. This Marina Rodriguez fight feels like a trap for whatever reason, but Marina's still going to be the pick. She's going to be the much better striker. Hopefully that takedown defense holds up a bit, but I'm not touching this with my money or yours. Then we have Khaos Williams taking on Rolando Bedoya. Khaos Williams, I think he's the biggest favorite on this card right now, and I get it, right? He's taking on short notice Rolando Bedoya. Khaos Williams is always fun. This dude has never been in a boring fight. He's going to walk you down. He has insane power, solid low kicks. He uses those low kicks to sort of take out your movement, take out your legs, slow you down, and then he's going to come up top for that knockout. He's got power. He's durable. He's always live for a knockout, and he is coming off that split decision loss to Randy Brown where he had a knockdown, but it was just Randy's volume that got him the nod. Rolando Bedoya is an in-and-out striker. He's got lots of movement, variety with his strikes as well. He's going to work in kicks and striking combinations well, but he does seem to lack sort of that raw one-punch knockout power. He never throws just one strike at a time, which helps keep him ahead on the scorecards, but he is very hittable. If you watch his fight versus Pablo de Horta, how about the rolling R's? Pablo literally landed every single straight right and overhand that he sent. Rolando's got a solid chin, so it wasn't really an issue in that fight, but he can't rely on that chin forever. His takedown defense is pretty solid, and he has submissions if he needs them. And Khaos Williams is a stupid tough debut for anybody, let alone a young kid who gets hit as much as he does. If Khaos lands with 10% of the accuracy that Pablo did when he fought Bedoya, then Khaos is going to win this by knockout, right? Khaos is going to be the pick here. He's, as I mentioned, at least for now, the biggest favorite on this card, and that's for a reason. But man, if Rolando's chin does hold up, like if that Khaos Williams power doesn't do anything, then this is going to be a Rolando decision just based off of sheer volume because he throws a lot. Nothing's by itself. Constant combinations. He's always putting something out there. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with money yet, but I'm definitely confident in Khaos. I'm going to be waiting for the round props, be waiting for some of those other props, and I'll make something happen with Khaos Williams here for sure. Make sure you're a premium member. You can unlock all the bets, all the picks, everything you could have ever wanted, and you can even get alerts to your phones when we do stuff. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's only $10 a month. That's 4 events. $2.50 an event. The tools alone are worth hundreds of dollars, let alone everything else. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. Then we got Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Devin Clark. And Devin Clark's a solid grappler, right? He's got well-rounded striking. Doesn't have the best chin, but he's got solid footwork, heavy hands. He looks to crowd his opponents so he can take them down. Once he takes them down, he's looking to strike and then work for a knockout more than he is for the submission. He's coming off that grinding win over Da Un Jung, where he went 3 for 11 in takedown attempts. He's taking on Kennedy Nzechukwu, who's a long, powerful guy with solid takedown defense at 80%. He's famously just never out of a fight. On multiple occasions, this dude has been down on the scorecards and then pulled it off. He can be gun-shy at times, which is how he even ends up down on the scorecards to begin with and then needing that finish. And that's basically what happened in his last fight, right? He lost that first round on all 3 judges' scorecard before knocking out Jan Kutulaba in the second. And I've got to go Kennedy Nzechukwu here, right? Well, Devin could have some early success wrestling. He's he's going to grind. Kennedy just hits too hard, and he's just never out of a fight. I see Kennedy touching Devin up and then getting a finish, but I also see him being a slow starter, which is the only reason I'm hesitant on him at a money line. There's nothing more frustrating than betting on a guy who doesn't let his hands go early. That is so frustrating. Kennedy can be that guy at times, so I'm probably going to end up with some action on Kennedy. But for right now, I'm just a little gun-shy that he's going to be taking too much time and Devin is going to be able to grind. Devin probably going to get finished. Kennedy should be the pick here. The dude is so long, hits so hard. This might look literally exactly like Kennedy's last fight. So I'm probably going to make something happen. Make sure your alerts are on if you're a premium member and see when I actually make something happen. But Kennedy is the pick for now, and I'm pretty confident in that. Then we have everybody's favorite chin, Drew Dober, taking on Matt Frevola. We all know by now, Drew Dober's a fun, just take one to give one style striker, and he's got literally the best chin in MMA, regardless of weight class. This dude has a better chin than Francis Ngannou does, and he's this big. It's absolutely incredible. Anyway, he does have nice power in his hands. He has a willingness to brawl. He's technically sound, but that doesn't stop him from getting wild. He's very durable, and unless, you're an absolute beast like Islam, you're going to have a hard time with him. He only has a 55% takedown defense, but he does such a good job baiting people in the firefights that he isn't even defending takedowns very often. He almost gives people a false sense of confidence because you can hit him. He does get hit. I mean, he almost has a negative striking differential here. He gives people that false sense of confidence. They hit him. They're like, oh, I'm getting to him. I don't even need to wrestle. I'm getting to him. And then bang. He cracks you. He's coming off that knockout win over Bobby Green. Well, that's basically what happened. Bobby's not a wrestler, but Bobby Green ran away with that first round, lit up Drew Dober, and then got caught big time in the second. Taking on Matt Frevola. Matt Frevola is an incredibly tough wrestler who never stops coming forward. He doesn't have the most technical striking, but that doesn't stop him from charging forward and throwing big looping shots, or in some cases even sloppy back fists. He averages more than almost 3 takedowns per fight with a low 37% accuracy. But he does have 12 takedowns in 9 fights. hasn't needed any in his last 4. He's coming off back-to-back KO wins, with the most recent one being over Atman Azaitar, where we saw how much power Matt Frevola really does have in his hands. And listen, eventually Drew Dober's chin is going to be toast. Nobody can take the damage that he's taking fight after fight after fight and have that last forever. Nobody can. Eventually, it's going to go. On one hand, I need to pick Drew Dober because he's shown us he can weather a storm and we know how durable he is. On the other hand, Matt Frevola has showcased his incredible power as of late, and we know he can wrestle. I know some unsuccessful Twitter dork is going to screen grab this and tweet it out of context because somehow screen recording me is better than creating their own original content and doing something for themselves. But I'm going to go for Frevola here. I think there's just something to be said about his recent run, his confidence. I think Drew is almost trusting his chin a little too much, and I'm hoping that Matt Frevola is smart enough to not just get caught in a bite-down swing firefight. I'm hoping Matt Frevola will land, shoot, and we've seen that from him in the past, so I don't know why we wouldn't see that here. So Matt Frevola is going to be the pick. Obviously, Drew is Drew. And this is a fist fight. I have a 1/4 of a unit on Matt Frevola at plus 185. Those are great odds. For a guy that has insane power and wrestling. So 1/4 of a unit, Matt Frevola, plus 185. If you are the Twitter dork that just wants to record and tweet, by all means, good luck. Hopefully you're successful one day, but so far, not really working out for you. Then we have Kron Gracie coming back after 4 years away. 4 years away, he's coming back. And he landed on the main card of a UFC. He's taking on Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain. That's a French accent, I guess. Anyway, Kron Gracie is exactly who you think he is based off of his last name. He's a phenomenal grappler, very high-level BJJ experience, plenty of accolades. He only has 6 MMA fights, but he actually does take his MMA career pretty seriously. He had that first loss of his 4 years ago to Cub Swanson, and he decided to step away to work on his striking and become a more complete fighter. But what was frustrating about that loss is he didn't even attempt to grapple. This is a phenomenal grappler who had the grappling advantage, and he didn't even attempt to grapple. He only had 2 half-ass wrestling takedown attempts, and he was just absolutely pieced up on his feet. This is his first fight back in almost 4 years, and it's just hard to know what you're going to get. He's taking on Charles Jourdain. Everybody knows Charles Jourdain right now, right? He's a fun, come-forward striker who has a great chin. He's incredibly fast, has great timing. He's willing to take chances with just spinning and flying attacks. He's coming off 2 grappling losses in a row. The first was to Shane Burgos, where he did show how incredible tough he is and how well-conditioned he is. And more recently, he lost to Nathaniel Wood. He has given up 21 takedowns in his 10-fight UFC career. But I've got to go. We're breaking down an MMA fight. I've got to go with the MMA fighter here, right? Like, how do I not pick the actual MMA fighter? I get it. I rattled off the stats. Charles Jourdain's takedown defense is not great. But if he's defending takedowns like the ones that Kron was shooting against Cub 4 years ago, he should not have an issue. Kron stepped away to work on his striking, but hopefully he was working on his wrestling too, because he needs that more than anything. I would prefer he had 0 striking and plenty of wrestling. At least then he can control where the fight actually goes. But Kron is stupid tough. Obviously, he's very dangerous on the ground. Jourdain is going to be the pick here. Most likely outcomes, there's 2, right? Is Kron by submission or Charles Jourdain by decision? Because Kron is stupid tough. We'll see what those props look like when they drop. We may bet both of them, frankly. If we're going to get solid plus odds on both of them, we may bet both of them. We're actually in the background quietly working on those multiple outcome bets per fight. We did some this weekend. We're going to do some this coming weekend where we're betting on the most likely outcomes, multiple outcomes for each fight at plus money. We're going to track that over the long term, and if it's working out well and we're plus money there, then we'll release it to you. I'm not going to put it up now because we haven't tested it long enough. But right now, that is a beta thing going on in the background, and once it's ready, we'll release it. We will release that to all of you. Anyway, Charles Jourdain the pick. He's the actual fighter in the fight. How could I not go that direction? Then we have Movsar Evloev taking on Bryce Mitchell, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with this breakdown. Movsar Evloev is a killer. He's a fantastic wrestler. He uses striking really well to set up his takedowns. He does a nice job keeping his punches really long and managing range well. Then he's going to lower his level, shoot at the legs, and he'll shuck the head with those extended strikes, right? He'll throw a right, leave the right out there, shoot, and then throw the head while he's shooting. And that's very different from what most people do. Those little setups and his incredible chain wrestling is why he's averaging almost 5 takedowns per fight. And he has had 9 takedowns against each of his last 2 opponents. So 18 takedowns in his last 2 fights. Obviously, that means he can't keep people down, but he's going to shoot, he's going to grind, he's going to be relentless, and you're not going to get any room to breathe. And he's taking on Bryce Mitchell. Arkansas's, the pride of Arkansas, the greatest wrestling state in America. Bryce Mitchell, the absolute wrestling beast. I'll go easy on him. Anyway, he is a dominant wrestler when he's fighting other people who aren't at that level of wrestler, but being from Arkansas hasn't really stopped him from having success, right? His takedowns are working for him. He averages more than 3 per fight. He has an accuracy of 44%. So basically, he's diving at legs, he's shooting, he's staying busy, just constantly working for those takedowns. His striking is awkward, but he doesn't even pretend that he wants to strike, right? He keeps his hands low, starts diving at legs, and working from there. If he gets you to the ground, which happens in pretty much every single one of his fights, he doesn't even strike. He works for submissions, keeps control, and he's had some of the most incredible grappling scrambles you'll see. He is in some really fun scrambles. He's coming off that absolute thumping from Ilia Topuria, where he did have a takedown, but he was 1 for 9, and this guy was absolutely pummeled. So they're like, hey, here's another Russian beast. And obviously this was actually the original matchup that fell apart, and then Ilia stepped up. So I don't think Bryce Mitchell just didn't learn his lesson. We saw what happened last time Bryce fought somebody who had wrestling credentials, and this fight's going to be more of the same. Movsar doesn't have the hands that Ilia does, but he does use his wrestling far more than Ilia does. I have said this a million times. I'm going to say it again. Arkansas wrestling isn't even good as far as American wrestling standards are concerned. It's just not, right? You got Jersey, Pennsylvania. Like, there are states that have very clearly established themselves as premier wrestling talent. Arkansas, unfortunately, is not one of them. And then we're taking that and we're saying, here's an international level wrestler. And people are expecting different outcomes. It blew the amount of people that were positive Bryce Mitchell was going to beat Ilia Topuria was crazy to me. We all get reads wrong, right? But to me, it was very simple, as is this fight. The dude only wrestles. That's all he does. He doesn't strike. We don't even need to factor in the striking. He only wrestles. And if you take a guy who only wrestles and put him against a person who is a far better wrestler, that should be a very easy breakdown to do. That's how I did it with Ilia. That's how I'm doing it here. Movsar Evloev is the easy pick here. For that Twitter dork that likes to screen grab me, if Movsar loses this fight, then this is worth the screen grab and the tweet. Do the clown emojis, whatever it takes for you to get a couple more followers. Good for you. Movsar Evloev, easy pick for me. Ilia broke Bryce Mitchell. Granted, Ilia has better hands than Movsar does, but Ilia broke Bryce Mitchell. This guy's he was crying. I have the flu. I shouldn't have fought. I'm poor. I only had $20 in my bank account. This dude went off the rails. The hole that he went into was wild. Movsar Evloev, easy pick. Easy pick. Then we have a tough pick. This is actually a tougher fight to break down. We have Jessica Andrade taking on Yan Xiaonan. Jessica Andrade, former world champion, right? She's a contender at multiple weight classes. She's beaten some of the best women on planet Earth. Technique-wise, she's a pretty good striker. She's got a ton of power. Her power isn't even just in her hands, right? She's going to push you around. She's going to physically impose her will. And she's always going to be the smaller fighter and still going to be pushing people around. Her BJJ is not the best. Her takedowns aren't super technical, but she's going to force the fight to the ground and she's going to start pounding away. When Jessica can be the bully, she can beat pretty much anybody in the world. But when she can't be the bully and she has to rely on clean technique, she's going to have a little bit of trouble. And we've seen that from her before, right? She's coming off that short notice loss to Erin Blanchfield, where she just couldn't get her hands on. She bombed, right? She tried to make it happen, but couldn't get that done. Yan Xiaonan a very good boxer. She's got well-timed strikes, very clean technique, but she does not shy away from a dirty fight, and she is willing to bang. Outside of her 2 UFC losses, which were to Carla Esparza and Marina Rodriguez, she has had a dominant run in the UFC with wins over Claudia Gadelha, who's very good, Karolina Kovacevic, who at one point in time was very good, Angela Hill, who's sort of, a tried and true vet. And for the most part, she keeps fights standing and outstrikes her way to a decision. But we did see her get 5 of her own takedowns when she fought Karolina a few years ago and 2 against Marina last year. She's coming off that win over Mackenzie Dern where she defended 9 takedowns and survived the submission attempts. This is a tough fight to call because we all know how powerful Jessica is. And if she comes forward and bullies Yan, she can absolutely get this done. But if she can't close the distance and is stuck striking with Yan, she's going to be a step behind the entire time. And even though I think Yan is going to be the much better striker here, she's not dangerous at all. And that's actually what makes this tough because Yan's going to have to fight a perfect fight for 15 minutes, where Jessica just needs to come forward, take whatever's there, push her against the cage, drag her down, throw big. So it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky. I keep going back and forth on this fight. I have literally picked Yan and then Jessica, I keep going back and forth. Right now, the pick is going to be Jessica because she is the more dangerous fighter. But frankly, I might flip that because there's something to be said about Yan's composure and keeping fights clean. And Jessica just can't rely on straight, raw power every single fight. Right now, Jessica's the pick. I'm thinking she can bully her way in, get the fight to the ground, work from there. So Jessica's going to be the pick. But again, I have flip-flopped on this, very low confidence. If you're a premium member, when you go to my analyst page, you're going to see the fight, my pick for that fight, the confidence level in that pick, and then the round line lean. So this fight, you're going to see low, not very confident. Other fights, you'll see high, medium. Obviously, you understand how that works. But anyway, it's important to emphasize how confident you are in a pick, not just the pick itself, because picking Jessica Andrade here and Khaos Williams early, yeah, I picked them, but very different levels of comfort there. So if you're not a premium member, become one. It's only $10 a month, and you can do that at WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member at the top. Then we have an incredible co-main event. This is a short notice fight for both of these men. This fight was just put together 2 weeks ago, something to that effect. Neither one of them was scheduled to fight, so sort of a short notice mashup to give us a phenomenal co-main event. We got Belal Muhammad taking on Gilbert Burns. Both of these guys on wild streaks right now. Belal Muhammad, nonstop wrestler. He averages more than 2 takedowns per fight. He's got solid fight IQ, and he knows when he should wrestle and when he should strike. For example, he completely out-grappled Vicente Luque and Stephen Thompson. He had a combined 12 takedowns in those fights. But in his last fight against Sean Brady, he recognized Sean Brady's a very good grappler, attempted 0 takedowns. And what was remarkable about that win is he was looking like Roy Jones Jr. out there, just lighting up Sean Brady on the feet. His hands looked freaking amazing. Didn't even need to attempt takedowns. He had good constant pressure, solid accuracy, and just dismantled Sean Brady on his feet, which is concerning for Gilbert because now, Belal's got hands as well. But like Belal, Gilbert Burns is a grappler. He's developed striking over time. But unlike Belal, Gilbert has very impressive power, right? Especially considering he's a 155-pounder who moved up to welterweight. He's undersized for the division, but he is fast, powerful, tough enough to hang with the elite. He's coming off that one-sided win over George Masvidal just a few weeks ago. And there's a lot of things to factor while breaking this fight down. First of all, it's short notice for both guys. But Gilbert just fought 3 weeks ago, and Belal's coming off Ramadan, which, as many of you know, that involves fasting, right? There's rules and limitations to what he can eat and not eat and when and how often, and that's not good for your body. So Belal's coming off Ramadan. But with that being said, this isn't going to be Belal's first time fighting during or after Ramadan, and it hasn't been that much of a problem in the past. And it's definitely a tricky fight that can have a lot of different outcomes. But I'm liking Belal here. I think he's going to come forward with his grappling, keep Gilbert backing up. It has been a while since someone sort of pushed a wrestling game plan on Gilbert, and I think it's going to have him out of sorts. I think Belal's improved striking can potentially goad Gilbert into swinging wild, and then when he does, Belal's going to shoot. Fighters haven't done very well in these quick turnarounds, right? When you see a fighter fight on a card after a full-blown fight and then quick turnaround 2-3 weeks later, they haven't done very well. We've seen a lot. Terrence McKinney lost to Drew Dober. We watched Chris Curtis lose a striking match to Jack Hermanson. And those are just that I thought of right now. Like, there's a bunch of cases where somebody fought a few weeks later, quick turnaround, Jessica Andrade to Aaron Blanchfield. And I think Gilbert's going to fall into that as well, right? I think Belal Muhammad's going to get it done. I like the wrestling pace, the wrestling pressure. I got a quarter of a unit on Belal at plus 105. Gilbert was a big favorite here, and this line tightened very, very quickly. So I still have plus money on Belal Muhammad. I think the wrestling pace, the wrestling pressure are going to get it done. Hopefully he's not just, he doesn't think that he's Roy Jones Jr., and that was just a game plan against Sean Brady and not Gilbert Burns. Get Gilbert to the ground. Everybody wants to talk, it was jiu-jitsu, Who the hell is Gilbert Burns submitting off his back? Show me that tape, and then I'll listen to you about Gilbert's jiu-jitsu. Gilbert has good jiu-jitsu if he can take you down and then, climb on your back, stuff like that. But he's not throwing up arm bars, triangles, creating scrambles off his back. I think Belal takes him down, avoids any of the power on his feet, and absolutely gets this done, which is why I have a quarter of a unit at plus 105. We got the main event. This has been in the works for a very, very long time, and this is a phenomenal main event. I'm very excited for this. We got Aljamain Sterling defending his belt against a returning Henry Cejudo, 3 years away. This is going to be an awesome fight. Aljamain, he's sort of a rangy guy, right? He's mostly a grappler, but when he strikes, he uses that range. He started his career as full-blown grappler. He has takedowns in every single win before 2018. But over time, right, he's developed his own striking style, that long karate-ish movement. He uses kicks really well to manage that range. He's landing almost 5 significant strikes per minute, and he only absorbs about 2, and that's because he does a good job with his footwork and his range control. His last 3 fights, we have seen him work his way back to his roots as a grappler. He has 8 takedowns in 3 title fights, including 3 against Jan and 5 against TJ in his last fight. He's taking on Henry Cejudo, former 2-division champ and Olympian, not even Olympian, Olympic gold medalist who retired in the middle of his title reign in 2020. Back then, we thought it was sort of a negotiation ploy, which maybe it was, but he's now almost 3 years removed from his last fight. He is an Olympic gold medalist wrestler who can basically beat anybody wrestling, right? He's a high-level athlete who has evolved and added other skills. He averages more than 2 takedowns per fight, which is expected of an Olympian, right? But he also has a positive striking differential, and he's riding a 3-fight knockout win streak. He's got power in his hands and an Olympic wrestling foundation. Not to mention, he's running an incredibly successful gym. And you see a lot of these guys become coaches. You learn more coaching than when you're competing, because teaching other people how to do something really does a lot for you as well. So we may see a better, more improved, incredibly high IQ Henry Cejudo here. And this is such an interesting fight. I am glad that this is being put together. I love Henry Cejudo. I've been following his career for a very long time, long before MMA, right? I mentioned I'm a wrestler, lifelong, coach wrestling. I've been following Henry Cejudo in his wrestling career. But this is tricky because we know Henry Cejudo is the 2-division champion. He beat 2 of the all-time greats, Dominic Cruz, Demetrius Johnson. The problem is that he did walk away, right? He's been gone for 3 years without competing, without keeping his cardio up, without keeping his weight down. And I do think that matters. But this is a weird situation because Aljo is the champ, but there's literally an asterisk next to every single one of those fights. He won the belt by playing up an illegal knee, right? Remember that whole drama? And he was getting dominated in that fight. Then he defended the belt for the first time in what the majority of people think was a bad decision. And then most recently, he beat a guy who had 1 arm. So I'm not trying to take anything away from Aljamain, but you're going to see those 3 wins in a row. And frankly, there's just something about each of those wins that wasn't super clean. Not his fault. He didn't choose to get kneed illegally. He's not a judge on the scorecards. And he didn't tell, what's his name, to show up with 1 arm, TJ Dillashaw. So he's going out there doing what he's supposed to do. The problem is, I think Aljamain's just going to be too big. He's too busy. I don't know what Henry Cejudo's cardio is going to be like. I don't know if he's going to be able to take Aljamain down. I get it, Olympic wrestler versus not Olympic wrestler, but size matters. And Aljamain Sterling is a weight bully. The dude is big. He's heavy. I'm going to be rooting for Henry Cejudo for days. I would love nothing more than to get this pick wrong. But I have to go with the current champion, who is more active, who is much larger. I have to go with Aljamain Sterling here. I'm going to be rooting big time for Henry Cejudo. Nothing against Aljamain. I just love that guy. Let me know who you think wins this fight in the comments. I'll tell you right now, Jakey Boy are going to go at it in the Tuesday night live stream on this fight specifically. Guys, for the most part, we are absolute killers on pay-per-view events. Last event was absolute dog trash city, but the likelihood of that happening 2 times in a row is incredibly low. We're up 29.9 units on pay-per-view events alone this year. That's a 23% net profit for our pay-per-view events on this year, which tells you UFC 288 is going to be a successful event for us. So make sure you unlock premium membership for $10 a month at WeWantPicks.com. It's not just about the bets. We also have tools for you. The line movement tracker is going to give you every single fighter, their opening odds, their current odds, the current probability, and the line movement. I have Parker Porter highlighted. Dude went from plus 148 underdog when it opened to minus 180 favorite, and it is very important to watch that movement. See what the sharps are doing. See what the trends are so you can hop on, hop off, find your own spots. And we're also going to give you incredible amounts of detailed data, striking metrics, grappling metrics, fight history, betting odds. We're going to give you all of that information in a 38-column spreadsheet. We're going to divide that up into small digestible chunks so that you have what you need to find your spots. You don't need to just copy paste. You don't need to look at my bets at all. You can find your own with all of these tools. The amount of time it takes to build this spreadsheet, I have saved you hours and hours so you can come here and do your research. WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. It's only $10 a month. It's only $10 a month. And we've added even more analysts. We have Artem. Artem is there as well. That dude's not just breaking down UFC. He's giving you Bellator, PFL, Cage Warriors, LFA, One Fighting. He's giving you detailed breakdowns, picks, and bets for every single event, not just UFC. We also take credit cards. And guys, don't forget, if you want that free $50, WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our betting partners. Make a deposit, and I will send you $50 as a thank you.